Welcome to the Bucket List Life Podcast with Trav Bell, the world's #1 bucket list expert. Bucket List Life's mission is to help you get off the treadmill, stop Groundhog Days, hack your habits, and live a regret-free life. Because we know life's way too short not to live your bucket list life. So please welcome your host, Trav Bell, the Bucket List Guy.
Hey, thanks so much for either watching or listening to the Bucket List Live podcast. Look, before we get started, let me tell you about the Bucket List Business Plan. The Bucket List Business Plan is for people like you, a storyteller, a person that's got some trapped wisdom inside them. You know, it could be a breakdown before breakthrough story. It could be a tragedy to triumph story. Something that you've overcome and come out the other side and learned some really solid life lessons. You know, that mess, those scars can become your message. I think unearthing that message is extremely important. Don't die with that wisdom still trapped within you. Get it out there in the world. So the Bucket List Business Plan is about helping you become a speaker, coaching one to many from the stage, whether it be via keynotes, via a TED Talk, running your own retreats, and also creating some coaching programs as well, whether it be one-on-one coaching programs, group coaching programs, and also publishing your book or series of books. These are 3 modalities in which you can get your expertness, your specialities out there into the world and really pay it forward and help other people that really need to hear your message. So let's scratch that itch. Check out the Bucket List Business Plan via the link below, and together we'll co-create that message out there in the world and help a truckload of people with it. So that's the Bucket List Business Plan. Click the link below and let's get back to the show. Mate, what do you put on your incoming passenger card when you enter a new country? How do you explain yourself now?
I'll just put speaker or something like that. You know, because I do a lot of stuff, and it sounds dodgy, doesn't it?
It really
it's like
does.
When I'm on a plane, and I'm on a plane a lot like you, and I try, I'm happy to talk, but I don't feel compelled to talk to them. But if someone goes, "What do you do?" I often go, "What do you think?" And they'll go, "Soldier, policeman." Like they always think I'm in the military or something because I'm in not bad shape and I've got like not much hair. So they think I'm some kind of hard ass. I'm like, well, no, I'm not that clever and not that tough and not that courageous. No. So wind it right back.
Yeah.
But I just tell people I'm, really when people go, "What do you do?" I go, "I help people change stuff." And that can make a really good conversation. And they're like, "How?" And I go, "Well, I'm an exercise scientist and I do this and that, and I've owned gyms and I've written books, but I'm fascinated with human behavior and high performance, whatever that means, and the way that we think and the way that others think and self-awareness. And but in general terms, I might write speaker, I might write educator. I definitely wouldn't put podcaster, even though that's probably where I make most of my income, or that's where I make half of my income.
Yeah.
But it's all in the education space, but not the traditional education space.
And your jokes around that. And I've got a full-on story where back in March this year, I got kicked out of America. I haven't told you this.
Wow.
Yeah.
No, tell me and the listeners.
Yeah. No, I can say it now because I've been through 8 months of absolute agony and of getting the right working visa to enter the United States. Been in and out of the United States, spoken a bunch over there at different events, some free, some for not for profit, some commercial. And because I've gone over and back on an ESTA, which is you don't have to get any kind of visa really. It's a visa waiver program. And we get paid online before the gig, sometimes a year out, 6 months out from the gig, and you kind of forget about it and coach people online and run an online business. So why do I need one of these? So I go over to do a gig in a place called Beaver Creek, Colorado, about 30 minutes out of Vail, Colorado, near Aspen, and to these merchant bankers. Great gig, high dollar per hour gig. Go over there. A week of skiing was part of it, staying in the executive suite. And then after that, going down to the 10X Growth Con with Grant Cardone. And so 2.5 weeks, went and bought all the ski gear, my partner and I, Tracy, and we were going to have a fantastic time. Did the 14 hours from Melbourne to San Francisco airport to get the connecting flight. Again, back in March, present the passport, and they're like, "What are you here for?" As they say. This is where you don't joke with Homeland Security too much on what you do, you know.
Yeah.
I've done-
or at all.
I've done no at all. They don't get our humor. I don't know why. Adult film star never works. So I said, like you did, you know, I'm a speaker, professional speaker. All right, why are you here? I'm I'm going to an event. Oh, you're speaking at this event? Yeah, I am. You getting paid? Yep. Here's my invoices, you know, and I'm showing off, digging myself a big hole. They said, come with us, sir. I said, all right, cool. Led, flanked, should I say, by Homeland Security into the room that you don't want to go into. An hour later, fingerprint, sworn, you know, why you here, had to give a statement. And they said, you got the wrong visa to be in the country. If you're getting paid to be here, it's actually illegal. Oh, you should have the right visa, the right working visa to do what you do. I'm like, yeah, sure, fellas. Give me the piece of paper, give me the box to tick, and let's play on. Yep, cool. Not the places to be. You're wasting my time. No. You're going to stay here, and we're going to send you back on the next available flight. Yeah, right. Sure. Well, what visa should I be on? No one knew the answer because we're unicorns. So we don't fit into a box. I'm not an accountant, not a doctor. When's the next available flight? Humour me. 11 o'clock tonight. It was 9 o'clock that morning. No, we're serious. And you're going to stay. And I said, what am I going to do? You're going to stay right there in a white room, walled room. I had to ask to go for a piss. I had to ask for coffee, food. They said if I was in JFK airport, I would have possibly been in a cell. Are you serious? They let Tracy through. She hung out in Starbucks. I just went into shock. And, you know, we work up to get to a certain level in our career, and I felt my wings just clipped here. So I stayed in the room. Last 11 o'clock came around. They took my phone, wallet, you know, took everything off me. I was a crim. Meanwhile, they're letting through people, you know, I'm like, that guy's dodgier than me. I wasn't doing anything dodgy, but I was just innocently did not know what I needed to get. And they couldn't tell me what sort of visa I was meant to be on. So the day went by and I got flanked yet again at 11 o'clock at night back onto the plane with this document holder with all my passports and sworn statement and everything in it. And they said, go back and sort it out with your embassy, with the US Embassy in Melbourne, Australia, and come back with the right visa. So flanked onto the plane, getting led onto the plane through the dodgy area of the airport. Even the pilot, I was second onto the flight. Pilots looked back on me, looked back at me while I was entering the plane with this in my hand, and he's just gone. I'm like, what am I? I'm not a crim. I'm just trying to do the right thing. Didn't know.
Yeah.
Got back to Australia. They said there was going to be cops waiting for me at the other end. There wasn't. So I shit myself for another 14 hours, you know, all the way home. Checked in at Crown, rocked up at the embassy, Monday morning, 8:30. Hopped in the line, thought I could have a conversation, tick the box, and then jump on the next available flight that day. And we fly back and play on. Got to the front of the line, sir, do you have an appointment? I went, no. How do I get one? Well, fill out this form. And then a month and a half, the form was a nightmare. It's hieroglyphics of different kinds of visas. And a month later, I had the interview. Fucked up the interview, fucked up the form, and then got an immigration lawyer. And
hang on. So you missed the whole conference, right?
Yeah, had to do it online.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Suffice to say, 8 months later, and literally on Friday, no, actually, literally yesterday, it got delivered. 8 months later. No, I couldn't enter America for the last 8 months, so I've had to do everything online. And I do a lot of stuff over in America. I've been doing a lot of stuff. So I've been giving advice to all of my speaker friends when entering America. Because if I knew and I bullshitted, you're done for fraud.
Wow. Well, let's not mention any of the work that I haven't done in America.
No,
I may or may not have spoken in Colorado at a joint called Breckenridge, just up the road from where you were.
Yeah, but you weren't paid, I'm sure.
No, I wasn't paid. It was free. It was a
There
donation.
you go.
It was just my time. And in exchange, I got a shoulder rub and some time on the slopes, which was
There
great.
we go. There we go.
Wow, dude, that's
So
that's an in,
yeah,
that's an interesting story. Well, I'm
it's
glad it's turned around finally.
finally, yeah. But mate, lessons we learned. Talk about lessons. Your career in personal training. What did it teach you about psychology of people and getting
Well, I
results?
mean, the thing
Getting
is,
results.
what's interesting, yeah, how to get a result, what success is for different people, how people create their own experiences, understanding that we can be in the same place, in the same conversation, in the same moment in time, but not in the same reality, understanding of the relationship between mind, body, and emotion, understanding that everybody that comes to a personal trainer has one overarching objective, and that is they want to change something, understanding or creating greater understanding of how change works from a cellular level up, realizing that changing my body is largely not about my body.
Mm,
Like my body's not the problem, my body's the consequence of the problem. My problem is my thinking and my choosing and my standards and my operating system and my shitty habits and my shitty lifestyle, and all of that stuff is a byproduct of my choices and me. And then, and also I was a morbidly obese kid, so this is
mm,
not just theory
mm.
for me. And then even as a trainer, when I was in my 30s, I would say late 20s, early 30s, there was probably 2 or 3 years where I was not in shape at all. And I owned at that stage Australia's biggest personal training business. I had lots of people working for me. I was giving advice to people that I wasn't actually following myself. I was not walking my own talk. And I've always been fascinated. Like, I reckon I was about 21 or 2 when I realized that how much I know about anatomy and physiology and biomechanics and exercise programming and nutrition is not nearly as important as how well I understand the person in the body. Because I could give people information and tools and resources and encouragement and support, but some of them would still get terrible results or no results. Some of them would come 3 times and never come back. Some of them would come for a year and like absolutely transform, given all the same things as the person who lasted 3 sessions. And
Yeah.
so that, the first book that I wrote, which ain't a brilliant book, by the way, but it's okay. The first book I wrote was literally about the psychology of getting in shape, not the physiology of getting in shape, because I realized that a lot of personal trainers and exercise scientists and gym owners, for that matter, had let's say, a decent to good understanding of how to create an adaptive response in a body, how to build strength, muscle fitness, aerobic endurance, whatever. But they had a fucking diabolically bad understanding of why people do the things that they do and why the guy that says he'll do it doesn't do it. And, so for me, not that I do that job anymore, neither do you, but I'm sure you're still in conversations with people, as am I, where, they ask me a question about getting in shape and I don't want to talk about diet. I don't want to talk about exercise. I don't want to talk about sleep. I want to talk about why you simultaneously want to get in shape, but also choose to go and eat shit. Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
Let's
Yeah.
talk about why you self-sabotage. Let's talk about how come you've got standards and habits and rituals which create the opposite of what you tell me you want to create. And
Mm,
this is,
mm.
this is not a self-loathing exercise. This is a self-awareness exercise because, it's a multidimensional answer and there are a lot of variables. But if we had to put it under one kind of overarching banner, it might be the fact that we love instant gratification and we love dopamine. And if you're like me and you love cheesecake, fuck yeah, dopamine. If you love porn, if you love sex, if you love gambling, if you love spending, if we're addicted to the same thing, which is that biochemical state in the brain. It's just that the pathway is different.
What's your guilty pleasure? When you are, you don't have to go down the rabbit holes online, but what's your guilty pleasure when you want to switch off because you're always in service of people and you're always coaching one to many. Whether it be via the stage, via the podcast, coaching programs, the list goes on, mate. But how does Craig Harper switch off?
Yeah. So I live 600 meters from the beach here where I am. So I go to the beach nearly every day. I walk barefoot every day of my life. So I do at least 3 to 5 Ks a day with no shoes on, no socks on. Try not to take a phone. If I do, I might be listening to something that I want to listen to. I have 4 motorbikes. I would do 90% of my commuting on a motorbike, not in a car. For me, which seems very counterintuitive for a lot of people, but believe it or not, for me, that's relaxing and therapeutic. Like you, I train every day. There's probably 4 days a year, maybe, where I don't work out, and I don't need to train 7 days. I just enjoy it, and I train with my training partner, who's one of my best mates. We talk shit.
The crab.
We solve the problems of the world. We curl a few dumbbells. We do a couple of deadlifts and we fuck off because we're old.
He's a beast.
He's a weapon.
Yeah.
And for me, it's just I'm lucky that I have a capacity to switch off and relax quite quickly. So and I sleep like a world champion sleeper. So I'm very happy about that because that's not the case for a lot of people. But yeah, but for me, and also, mate, I live by myself and, where I live is it's a very calming environment. So I like where I live.
I was going to say that, not married, no kids by choice?
Well, yeah, but no, I proposed to 34 people. They all knocked me back.
Come on.
No, that is a good question. Yeah, yes, by choice. Yeah. And it wasn't my plan. Like, I actually got engaged when I was young. I was engaged to, I won't say her name because I don't want to throw her under the bus, and that didn't end up happening. And she was lovely, still is lovely, happily married to someone much better than me. She dodged a bullet. Well done. And so I've just, and I've had partners, girlfriends, whatever you want to call them over the years. And I just, for the last 10 years, I haven't had a girlfriend per se. I have friends, as in, like a community of friends. And I think because I talk to people so much, Trav, like every morning I have a coffee and I will be talking with somebody about their life or their stuff virtually. That's when I don't I don't do coaching anymore officially, maybe the odd, corporate here and there, but generally it's not really my go.
Yeah.
And I think because I have a very social, in a way, life where I connect with a lot of people, I talk to a lot of people, and I don't really feel lonely. Like I've literally lived by myself since I was 17.
Yeah.
So I'm so used to it. And I also think, what fascinates me too in general is and this is just a personal perspective. It's not advice. It's not a truth in inverted commas. But like we grow up in this model that kind of says, well, you should probably get a job. Well, you should definitely get a job, and you should probably something that's going to good security and all of these things. Well, that was when you and I were young anyway. It's a little bit different now.
Yeah. And
you should probably get married and probably have 2.3 kids and you should probably do it by this age. And there's all these things you should probably do, which of course are not good or bad. They're just things.
Yeah.
But one of the things that made me question that particular model was I did personally, not my team, I personally did over 50,000 personal training sessions. Yeah. Now that's over 50,000 conversations. And there weren't many of those 50,000 sessions where someone wasn't talking to me about their life.
True.
Right. We didn't talk about sets and reps and dumbbells and barbells. Generally, they were talking to me about their life.
True.
And so often when somebody would talk about their marriage or their relationship or partnership, nearly all of the time it was negative, right? There were very few people who went, I'm married and I'm just going to tell you, he's amazing. Well, I'm like, fucking hell. Are there any people? And I know there are. My parents have been happily-ish married for 1,000 years. I get it. So I'm definitely not anti-marriage and I'm not anti-commitment and I'm not anti-partner I'm none of that. But I just think it's really good to go, okay, so this is the theory is we get married and kind of a version of, and we live happily ever after. But I think when you look at the data, not that we want to be anti-marriage, but you might go, well, that's the idea ain't the reality.
Yeah.
And so that just interests me. And I also, and it's the same with careers. It's the same with business partnerships where I see people who are in something, Trav, that experientially is a 2 out of 10 or a 3 out of 10, and they just stay in it despite the fact that there's very little joy.
Yeah.
Very little joy, very little growth, very little contentment. But it's kind of, getting out of it would be problematic and difficult. And so they kind of, some people, not all, just stay in this kind of holding pattern of emotional and psychological mediocrity, hoping that somehow things will get better. So for me, that I'm always curious around that. And most of my friends, by the way, are in partnerships, and most of them, somewhere between okay and really good. So yeah, but that's it. I rarely get asked that on a podcast. So well
I
done.
only asked it because you said someone asked you the other day about they asked you that question.
Yeah. I don't get asked
When
on,
you're a guest on someone else's podcast, I believe. So I'm like, I'll ask the same question. They say a rut is a grave with the ends kicked out, and there
a
is a lot of
grave with the ends kicked out.
there is a lot of people in a rut. I've probably quoted on the most is people are dying at 40 and being buried at 80. You ask most people what their goals are in life, and it's like you said, it's pay off the house, put the kids through school, and do a bit of travel when I'm older. Yeah, and possibly sicker.
Mm,
We call Andrew Tate will
mm,
call it the
mm.
matrix. We've been calling it the matrix and the system for years. And yeah, there's a lot of disengaged people out there, and that leads to obviously the fight that we're trying to both fight in our own way, through our own lens of mental health. And we've certainly come up against that. You'd come up against that in audiences. There'll be no doubt, some real aha moments within the groups that you speak in front of that you just know that that's the thing that they need to hear, those aha moments, right? And, they're something's broken. The model of the world that we've been sold to is broken because we're in a mental health perfect storm, right?
Yeah. And I think, that it's very easy. It's very easy. And I've done this as well. It's very easy to get in something of a holding pattern
Mm.
where, it's kind of life almost happens despite you, not because of you, and you wake up and you go, and now I'm 45, shit. Or, and I might have said this to you, but I get told this a fair bit where I'll be talking to someone who's, whatever, 30, 40, 50, 60, and they'll say to me a version of, we're talking about their life and what's going on and good and bad and outcomes. And they'll say to me, wow, you know what? This wasn't my plan.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, well, what do you mean? Oh, this wasn't my plan where I'm at. I'm like, oh, can I see the plan? They're like, what? I go, the plan. The plan that you're talking about, can I see it?
Mm.
They go, what do you mean? And like, there's no fucking plan. Like, they don't actually have a plan. There's no strategy. There's no timeline. There's no structure. There's no accountability. There's actually not a plan. There's just an idea of how my life will end up. And I didn't think my life would end. Oh, okay. So like, unless you are consciously creating your life, making decisions, taking action, being courageous, adapting, adjusting, doing a stock take, where am I at? What are my values? What are my beliefs? What are my goals? Does my behavior, does my operating system align with that? If you're not doing that, you're an unconscious passenger in your own life.
Mm.
If you want to be a conscious creator, you need to go, okay, what does my best life, my best health, my best business, my best job, what does that look like? And how far away from that am I? And what the fuck do I need to do to bridge that gap? So what are my non-negotiables? What's my action? What do I need to do, be, create, and change? I feel like I'm preaching now.
Yeah,
But this is the stuff that we do. It's like, hey, bro, your life will not accidentally fucking end up great. So stop crossing your fingers and wishing, motherfucker, and get off the couch. Like, go get uncomfortable, go do hard shit, get clarity. And if you fall down, that's great. That's a lesson. If you fuck up, also great. If people don't like you, also great. If you piss a few people off and your mum and dad aren't sure about what you're doing, it's okay. Like, I'm not talented. I'm not gifted. I don't have great genetics. I don't have a high IQ. I'm not, for me, because I wasn't the gifted kid, I was just the fat average kid. I was the fattest kid at school, So for me, that platform of mediocrity almost became my superpower because it made me really motivated.
Yeah.
Because, my friends would play footy and they'd train once a week and be fucking great. I'd train 5 times a week and not be as good as them. I'm like, shit, I've got to train 7 days a week.
Yeah.
I would study 3 hours to get through an exam and my mate would study none. I'm like, fuck. Not only do I have shit genetics, I'm dumb. It's like, and of course, not that dumb and not that terrible.
Compared to their school system that's, fraudulent anyway.
Yeah, but like my never-ending question is, how do I optimize me and how do I help others optimize themselves?
Well, that's the thing. It's so many people are reactive to life rather than proactive. They're not intentionally living, like you say. So what's going to be your legacy, do you reckon?
Hopefully the lives that I impact. I won't say change because I don't change lives, but hopefully there'll be remnants of me in the of my ideology and philosophy and work and energy and passion in the people in inverted commas that I leave behind. And hopefully, and I know it sounds cheesy and bullshitty, but I always say to people, I tried the selfish route. I gave selfishness a good go for a long time. It was all about me. And I got to the point where I was quite successful. I had 5 different businesses all making a profit, and I had lots of great things going on in the middle of all of my stuff, my money and my achievements and my alleged success. In the middle of all of that, I was kind of mentally, emotionally, and spiritually broken. And so for me to kind of turn that around a little bit and still hopefully have a commercial success and make a few dollars, but also have a purpose bigger than me, which again sounds cheesy, but for me, it's actually a paradigm that works. It's a model that works. The more within reason that I invest in others and help others and be of service, as you've mentioned, the better my life goes and the better my work goes and the better impact I have on people. So hopefully my legacy will be the impact that kind of has that flow on effect after I'm gone.
Are we talking religion here? Are you religious, would you say?
I grew up in a religious model in that I grew up in a very Catholic family. So I was as Catholic as you can be. But that's a byproduct of programming and conditioning. And even that, like and I'm not anti-religious, I'm not anti-Catholic. Don't send me an email, anyone. But what I was really interested when I became a little bit more evolved and aware was, I've been programmed and I've been conditioned, and to a point you might use the word brainwashed, but it's the same. You get brainwashed by the media, social media, school, mum, dad. You get programmed, and then you wake up one day and you realize, are these thoughts my thoughts?
Yep.
Are these beliefs my beliefs? Like, did I choose this belief? And I had this awareness when I was about 14 or 15. I'm like, a lot of the stuff that I believe I didn't actually choose. It's just a byproduct of my journey.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then, but also when you live in an echo chamber of belief and thought, or what I call a cult of thinking, you are very much discouraged from not aligning with the group and not thinking and being like the group. And if I was to be in that group and say, listen, I'm not sure about some of this. Well, nobody's going to go, that's interesting. Tell me more. They're going to go, you're a heretic. You're lost. You're slipping out of the light and into the darkness. You're a heathen, all this shit, because that's a really good way to control and manipulate people back into any group, is to be very critical of them when they don't align or think or behave the way that the group wants them to. And so and it's not just about religion, it's in lots of places and spaces, but pursuant to your direct question, Your Honor, more in the spiritual space and not in a weird mumbo jumbo, crystals and fucking feathers. And,
I get you.
But I've just had a lot of experiences in my life, which I don't think are byproducts of my mind, where I've, I just think there is an energy greater than us, which sounds again cheesy, an awareness, I don't know, a divinity, a level of intelligence that we don't understand, a greater intelligence. And I think the problem is, so me as someone who's literally doing a doctorate in neuropsychology, if my colleagues heard me say this, they'd want to get me fucking kicked out, right? Because, well, if we can't see it, touch it, measure it, feel it, analyze it, it's not real. I'm like, well, dude, there's a lot of shit we can't see, touch, feel, analyze, poke, measure. That's still real, So, like, if you want to be specific, we can't prove the mind exists because there's no fucking physical evidence. So let's not open that door. And maybe it's wishful thinking. I had a guy on my podcast called Dr. Eben Alexander last week. This dude, oh my God. So he's a neurosurgeon, doctor. And he had a kind of, what is it? Encephalitis, I think it was, which is like inflammation, an infection in the brain, which the kind that he had was typical of kids 3 months or younger.
Yeah, right.
Anyway, the bottom line was this dude went into a massive coma and was in a coma for 7 days, and his brain function was pretty much flatlined. So there was no chance of him dreaming or imagining and anyway, this dude basically went to what he calls heaven for 7 days.
Yeah,
and
right.
I'm like, listening to this guy whose brain was offline.
Yeah.
But he comes out of this 7-day coma and starts talking about this other place where he's been.
Yeah.
And this guy's a neurosurgeon, a researcher, is lectured at Harvard Medical School. But the whole shooting match, I'm like, well, either this guy's the best liar of all time, or maybe there's something. And the answer is, I don't know, and you don't know either. But the point of faith is believing in something you can't prove. Like if you could prove something, faith becomes redundant because you now have accessible knowledge.
Hey guys, just quickly, thank you so much once again for listening or watching the Bucket List Life podcast. We'll get back to the show real quick. Hey, look, I just want to tell you about Certified Bucket List Coach. Certified Bucket List Coach started about 5 years ago. I had a lot of people coming up to me and saying, Trav, I really love your stuff. Can I teach it into my school, into my company, into my business, with my family and friends? So after numerous requests from people all around the world, we launched Certified Bucket List Coach, and we locked arms with like-minded people where they can take our programs, the marketing, the business, and add their own flavor and help people in their local communities. And so together with our Certified Bucket List Coaches and our head office support team, we can all join in on the mission to help more people to tick it before you kick it. So if that's of interest, click the Certified Bucket List Coach link below. Let's have a conversation about how we can maybe lock arms and change a lot of lives in the process. Now back to the show. Mate, if you were full-on religious, they'd probably be hating on you because, your second book, which as you can see on the screen, is this second book? As you can see, nice and not... Second book, third book.
Yeah. Stop fucking around. Yeah.
Yeah, like it. I think I grabbed this when I was up in Byron Bay, and I thought, oh, Harps, he's come out and he's even polarized me with the title. So God knows what you're doing to the religious freaks out there. But mate, I want to talk about that transition because we've all seen Mark Manson come out with his books and nearly every time. I think there was in the top 10 of books there a few years ago, there was 4 of them that had fuck in the title or shit or it was, and it was great. But you had this years ago, and I dare say that, did you become more, what was the turning point? Because it's like you decided to become either more congruent or as a sales tactic to sell some books and be controversial and polarized, or was this just you evolving, you being you, and going, you know what? I swear I'm just gonna go for it, and this is part of the language. And I'll circle back to some of your whiteboard stuff here, and I'll just bring it up while we're on topic, because this is my personal favorite of all of the posts that you've ever done. I think this has been ripped off by so many people and probably shared by equally a number of people. The 12, is it this one? 12 more fucking rules for success. So
there's about 3 or 4 versions, but I think that's number 2.
Yeah. So
that's been turned into posters, mugs, tea towels, all without my consent. It's different languages. People send me pictures from around the world. I'm like, wow. Oh well, I'm okay with it.
I'm sure you know these off by heart, mate. But I'll circle back to the controversial, the polarizing nature of it. But I love these 12 more. And the cool thing is, you've just Trojan horsed it for the rest of us, to be more and more open and talk like we talk. 12 more fucking rules for success. Number 1, and these are all just absolute gold, ladies and gentlemen. So stop trying to keep every fucker happy. It's stupid. Number 2, stop looking for a fucking shortcut. Number 3, stop overthinking the fuck out of everything. Number 4, stop self-sabotaging. Harden the fuck up. Love it. Number 5, stop having the same fucking conversation. Number 6, confront your fear or it will fuck you up. Fucking love it. Number 7, some of your friends aren't friends. Fuck them off. 8, trust slowly. People will smile at you while fucking you over. Perfect. 9, shut the fuck up. Talk less, do more. 10, stop fucking wasting your potential. Can I get a hallelujah? Number 11, stop assuming people think like you. They fucking don't. And number 12, choose wisely. You can't unfuck someone. And that, I'm sure, is in the Webster's dictionary there, mate. But I want to talk about, because there was, I knew you from 20 plus years of personal training to suddenly becoming this coach, spitting this gold. And what was the conscious decision around, one, swearing, not that I'm against it whatso fucking ever, but then being your true self? To take me through that and how it polarized, if at all.
So I didn't make a conscious, I didn't wake up one day and go, you know what, I'm just going to swear more. Like, it was really just an evolution, or some people might say a devolution. But, like when I wrote Stop Fucking Around, which was 2009, it got published in 2010. So I think it was the first fuck book, if that's an accolade. But anyway, I don't know that's something to brag about. But anyway,
mate, that's on the bio, surely.
The first fuck book, Craig Harper. I started writing that, which, as you know, it's just 30 little fundamental ideas, right? It's easy to read. It's not complicated. I literally have not read that book for 10 years. But the working title was Stop Fucking Around, and that was never going to be the title. I showed a few of my friends just to read through it, and they're like, oh, I love the title. I'm not, that's not really the title. I go, I can't. But my mates are like, what do you mean? That's the best title of all time. I'm like, yeah, but most females less so, but still. And I went, fuck it. What does it matter? So that, I've published with Penguin. I've published with AFL Publishing, Jeff Slattery Publishing. I published with publishing houses, but that I self-published.
Yeah.
And I went, fuck it. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if I sell 9 copies or, and in Australia, a bestseller is 10,000, I think.
Yeah.
And I think at the moment we're somewhere north of 50,000 with that book, which is crazy because there was never any official distribution. I did 0 media interviews. We still sell, I don't know, a bunch a week. It's not a heap, but, and if I go anywhere and I take stuff, despite the fact that that's 13 years old, that sells more than everything else, and this is,
wow.
So I guess pursuant to back to your question, like obviously I did radio for a long time, like nearly 20 years. And obviously on the radio, you need to have a certain operational model, that's cool. So you don't swear. I did a bit of TV. I do, corporate speaking, and depending on the audience, I could be or could not be sweary. But with my podcast, with my writing now, with my coaching, it's just, and I definitely don't swear for effect. I just take off the filter when I do certain things. And sometimes I'll talk for an hour and I might not swear, and people go, oh, wow, you didn't. And I'm not consciously not swearing. I'm not trying to up my fuck ratio per minute so I create more connection. But I think one of the things is that because, like, I've never said for one moment, I'm a guru, I'm the answer, I'm a genius. I'm starting a new program tomorrow night. And even with that program, which is a very action-based, it's not a teaching program, it's not an inspirational or a motivational program. And even in the copy, even in the promo for that, I said, if you want me to fix you, don't come. If you think I'm the solution, don't come. If you don't want to get uncomfortable and roll up your sleeves and do work, don't sign up. Like, a lot of the things that I do from a commercial point of view, most people would say are stupid. Like, I am consciously deflecting people who I don't think will really buy in.
Yeah, right.
Because I'd rather work with 10 people who are ready to change than 100 people who think I'm going to change their life. So it's that very much that kind of, I'm a resource. That's it. I don't change lives. I influence people. I talk to people. I can help a few people, but Craig Harper is not the answer. On planet You, the answer is you.
Love it. So as far as, when you go and do talks and that sort of thing, is it the same?
Yeah. It depends who I'm with, mate. But like, I did a talk not last week, but the week before to the Baw Shire Council, like awesome humans, a bunch of mainly blokes, about 10 ladies, about 70 or 80 blokes in a big shed in Warragul, all wearing high-vis fucking jackets, me included. It's the best. And before we started, I went, okay, so what do you think? A swearing version or non-swearing version? I'm okay either way. And they all go fucking swearing. I'm like, of course.
You don't want to assume, no.
Yeah, Yeah. So I'm like, I can be mildly polished and sophisticated, not that, not totally. Or I can, and they're like, yeah, we want you to swear. And again, I don't swear to swear. I just speak to them.
Yeah.
You know, I'll go, put up your hand if you're an overthinker, and every hand goes up. I go, how's that working for you? And they all laugh. I go, shit house, right? It's shit house. Put up your hand periodically. If you're a fuckwit, every hand goes up and they're laughing. So, here's the thing this is what people don't understand about professional speaking. And you're not the high watermark and I'm not the high watermark, but we both do okay, right? Your content, this is going to sound really controversial, but your content is not nearly as important as your ability to fucking connect and build rapport and tell a story and create an experience and get people to buy in and build energy, and then the message matters. But if you've got a brilliant message, but you can't connect with a room, and we know that you connect with people with humor and storytelling, right? So if you can tell a great story, and you don't have to be a stand-up comic, but you can get people to smile or laugh, all of a sudden you've got a level of connection that you can't when you're just spewing out data.
Yeah.
And there are some brilliant people who are fucking terrible speakers.
Oh, don't get me started. They say, professional speaking is the hardest way to make easy money. And it is, no doubt we could swap story. That's a whole other podcast on sharing stages with overpaid speakers that ain't that good with no take home. But, I know that you would catch up with people, audience members years later, and they'd be going, I sat in your seminar, is exactly what I needed to hear on that day, and I've done this, and this, and this. That's when you've hit the mark, right?
Yeah. It's funny you say that, and this sounds like bullshit off the back of what you just said, but yesterday I was at the Hamptons Bakery Cafe in Hampton, and I was drinking my coffee, and there was a lady leaning over the counter talking to one of the staff, and she'd obviously just come from training. I'm thinking, wow, she's in amazing shape. That's all I was thinking, everyone. But she was in amazing shape. And she turned around and she looked at me and she's like, I remember you. She goes, you're Craig, right? And I go, yeah. And she comes over and she goes, so 10 years ago, I went to an event that Brad and Carly Cunningham ran. It's at the Fit Shop in Cheltenham. You spoke. And she goes, that was basically the starting point for me I'm like, wow, firstly, I don't remember that event. I remember that I've spoken there. And in a loving, caring way, didn't remember her, but and it wasn't that, I didn't change her life, but I created a moment in time with her and a few others. And off the back of that, she changed her life.
Right.
And when people say to me, like, you changed my life, I go, no, I absolutely didn't. Because if I was the cause, everybody would have changed. Yeah. And there was 99 other people in the room and they didn't change, but you did change. So 100% of the accolades go to you. But I'm glad that I could be a little bit of an inspiration or
one
whatever.
Of the dominoes that created the momentum.
Yeah, 100%.
Well, what do you say? This is a really interesting perspective. What do you say when someone says, so are you a life coach? And what's your feeling around the word life coach?
Yeah, I'd say no, I'm not. Yeah. I'm more an educator, and I don't even coach. It's like it's a bit wanky for me, but for me, I don't mean this to sound like academic snobbery, and that it's going to, because I just prefaced it with that. But like life coach, and I'm not saying there are no good life coaches. I'm sure there are many good life coaches, but to me, the bar to entry is too low. Like anyone can call, it's like, and then you've got people who really have little or no qualifications, some of them talking to people about shit they are overwhelmingly underqualified to.
I mean, a 21-year-old life coach doesn't.
Yeah, come on, mate. There's a lot of 60-year-olds that are dumber than the 21-year-olds. Don't worry about that. But I mean, even with me, like, I'm in my 5th year of a doctorate in neuropsychology, and it's still, of all the stuff there is to know, I know nearly fuck all. I mean, so I always preface everything with, these are my thoughts, not this is what you should do. Yeah. And if somebody's got a massive mental health issue, I'm not the guy.
No.
I'm just the speaker, teacher, coach who shares thoughts and ideas and stories. And if something lands with you and you want to maybe take that idea for a test drive, take it for a test drive, see what happens, and you might learn something about you. But yeah, I think I'm not a big fan of the term. having said that, I've got a few friends that are in that space and they do a good job. But it's even like you and I know. I mean, the term personal trainer has been,
Has been
it's not like
bastardized.
that's going to get you the most social points or, because the barriers to entry for personal training, and you think of what an important job that is, where you're literally working with somebody with their body and their health and their immune system and their, all of the systems of the body and their mind and their lifestyle. And then, I mean, it's such a fucking big job. And people can literally become qualified in, I don't know, 12 weeks online or 16 weeks. So I'm like, it's, and it's an unregulated industry. So it's hard. And once again, like every profession, there are brilliant trainers and shit trainers. There are brilliant bricklayers and shit bricklayers, brilliant speakers, shit speakers. So yeah, I'm just well aware of all of
Hey,
that.
tell me, while we're on the speaking, I'll circle back to what you're studying and why. Always ask other speakers this: best gig and worst gig. Don't say there's no bad. Don't say there's no bad gigs, but we've all,
Oh no, I've had some bad gigs. Don't worry, I've had some fucking Barry Crockers. Yeah, oh yeah. So my best gig, well, I've had a lot of really good, nice gigs, but I just remember one day, and this is going to sound weird, and this is going to intersect with the question you asked me before about the spiritual stuff, but I know that sometimes if I kind of get myself, because you and I are probably the same in that, and this is going to sound deep and philosophical, but I know that I can go into most rooms and do a pretty good job because I've got track record, I've got skill, I've got knowledge, I've got competence, I've done it a lot. And I can go in there and tell a story and be funny and read the room and create connection and wheel out my shit and say, hey guys, follow me on listen to my podcast. I'm Craig Harper. Don't be a fuckwit. See you later, right? And that's an hour or a 45-minute keynote. And you wheel it in and it's like just kind of dishing up a product. Right? You can do that based on just, go home, be good to your mum, don't be a dickhead, that kind of stuff. But
yeah,
you can do that on autopilot. But then, which to me, there's a much deeper experience when I'm not just wheeling in and out and doing a 45-minute thing. I'm with people for quite a while. And a couple of years ago, I did, which we just call Craig Harper Live. I did an event at Deakin where we use a room that's got 670 seats. And we filled it, and it was just me and 670 people for 3 hours.
Wow.
And before I went in, I basically do a little meditation, prayer, whatever, where I go, I want it to come through me, not from me. Like I just want to be a conduit to greatness and inspiration and joy. I want to be the conduit because I'm not it. I'm not the answer. But if that wisdom, if that insight, if that magic, if that energy can come through me, then maybe some great stuff will happen today for the people in the room. And that's almost like that is my intention going in. And this day, from the start to the finish, so Melissa, who's my right-hand person who runs my life, at the end of it, she comes up and she literally, and she doesn't swear much, she goes, what the fuck was that? Like, what was that? And I go, I don't know. Like that was bigger than me. I don't know. I can't even take credit for that because from the moment that I started to the moment that I finished, there was some shit happening in that room where there were tears, there were men crying, there were people breaking down and laughing, there were people hugging each other. There was a line of people for well over an hour to talk to me, to hug me, to thank me. And I'm like, yeah, Craig Harper is not this good. I'm not this good. There's something going on. And whoever or whatever is responsible for that, thanks, because it was like an honor to be in the middle of that, right? That's one of the best days. And you would have had, maybe you haven't.
And the other.
I did a gig. You do weird gigs.
You're still getting fucking therapy around it? Or you just
people don't understand when you're a speaker, sometimes you'll turn up on a construction site and there's 15 blokes in a work shed who don't want to fucking hear you. And they're like, who the fuck is this guy? And why are you here? And then other times where, like, I did a talk in Dandenong before this 24-hour run. Yeah. And I spoke to 4,000 people. And I'm like standing on this stage with 4,000 people. And I'm like, how the fuck am I here doing this? Right. This is such an honor. But anyway, so I did this gig, this guy who was a follower, doesn't matter what the business is, but He invited me to come to his Christmas lunch, which was at a Chinese restaurant, and talk to the group. I'm like, talk about a terrible fit. So I get there, everyone's been drinking for an hour. So 3/4 of the room are shit-faced. And then the guy that nobody wants to hear from, whose message is completely inappropriate in that context. And people are just eating and drinking and ignoring me. And there's one woman just heckling me, and she goes, "What are you doing here?" Like, that's in the middle of my thing. "What are you doing here?" And then she goes, "Can you give me the soy sauce, Jane?" And like, it was just a shit fest. And and I was crashing and burning, and I was getting angry, but trying not to look angry. I was trying to be the calm in the chaos, Mr. Equanimity. I was losing my shit. And the guy that employed me sat back and, the guy, that's right. On the lazy Susan, corn crackers flying around.
Lazy Susan.
Fucking hell. So anyway, I was halfway through. I picked up my keys and my wallet, which were next to me. And I said to the bloke, "Mate, I'm not doing this. Keep your money." And I walked out. I walked out halfway through the thing. And he follows me out and started having a go at me. And I'm like, "Steady on, champ. I'm not in the mood for you to have a go at me. And you best go inside." So that was it. Never heard from him again. I didn't get my money. I didn't want my money. I left halfway through. I'm not proud of that. I'm not saying I even did the right thing. I maybe should have soldiered on, but you live and learn.
You got standards. You got standards.
Oh, mate, it was a fucking nightmare. And mate, I'll tell you one more. So one of my first gigs ever, I was actually lecturing in a gym instructor's course before I'd even, hit my straps with Harper's was growing, but I'd never really done any kind of academic teaching. Not that that's, but it's in the wheelhouse. I was teaching people how to write exercise programs. And so early days, I'm in my early 20s. I'm basically making shit up as I go. I had to go and do this 2-hour talk on exercise programming. And I really was in every way under-equipped and ill-prepared. Well, I was prepared, but I wrote all these cards. They used to have these cards back in the old days before computers in a box. They were admin cards. And I wrote out about 30 cards full of notes. And I had to talk from 8 till 10. And I got to, it was at Recreation High Street, Paran. There was a room. And I got there like 7:15. I was so early because I was so nervous. And then about 7:45, I went into the gym. And then I went in to have my 47th wee. And I had a wee. And then I walked in front of the mirror to wash my hands, looked at myself, and my light blue shirt was dark blue around the armpits down to I was sweating like a motherfucker. I looked like a drug dealer at church. I was just all over the joint, right? And so I had to take off my shirt and dry it on the hand dryer. So people are walking in. Here's Craig Harper in like suit pants, which are ridiculous. And then I went in and I did the gig, and I was fucking terrible. And nobody had questions, and nobody enjoyed it. And at the end, I finished. I'm like, "Oh, I'm shit. I'm so bad at this." And this girl came up, and I thought she had a question, and well, she did. And she goes, "Oh, will you be here next week?" And I thought, "Oh, thank God, somebody enjoyed it." And I go, "Yeah, I will." And I just saw the disappointment in her face, and she went, "Oh," and walked out. She was hoping I wasn't coming back. So, mate, it's been a grind.
Oh, mate, yeah.
Like, that's called being a white belt.
We'll catch up. We'll catch up over a coffee doing that one. Extend on that. Because I've got some stories to share as well. Fire alarms being set, literally fires starting in the room before I went on, and hecklers. It goes on, but it's we play on. Yeah, that's the building blocks. Mate, I won't take up any more of your time. I want to ask, just who inspires Craig Harper? Who I know you don't put people on pedestals and stuff, but who inspires you, like out there in the world that you emulate, learn from?
Yeah.
Influenced
like
by?
In terms of famous high profile people, not like I look at what people do and I admire them. So this will sound cliche, but it doesn't particularly inspire me, but I'm fascinated with the way that a bloke like Joe Rogan built the podcast that he built. Basically dude sitting in a studio with other interesting humans talking for like everything he does is wrong. The production's not great. He talks for 3 hours. Oh, you shouldn't talk that long. People don't have that. Everything's got to be short and sharp. Everything's got to be vignettes and bite size. And if you're going to put a video up, it's got to be fucking less than a minute. And he does everything wrong and's got the biggest podcast in the world. So that interests me and fascinates me. But in terms of who inspires me, and this will sound cliche, but my mum's had cancer 3 times. She had a heart attack last year. She crashed her car this year and nearly died in that. She's 84 and she still has an incredible attitude and resilience. She's a winner. She inspires me. And one of my mates got blown up in an industrial accident by gas bottles about 5 years ago. And I've been training him and rehabbing him ever since. I see him typically 3 days a week. I trained him for the first 2 years or so in a wheelchair. They said he wouldn't walk ever. He wouldn't drive. 2.5 years in, he crawled. And now he walks. Now he walks and he drives himself to the gym and he's never pain-free. He has not 1 minute of any day ever where he's not in pain. And, he inspires me because he deals with more adversity every day than I deal with any day. So my life is easy. I'm blessed. My life is lucky. And I say to Melissa, who runs my life, if I complain about my life, punch me in the face because I'm the problem. So people who just deal with hard stuff, mate, they're the inspirations, like people who just are up against it, but just keep finding a way. They're the people I love.
Mate, as you are for so many people. And I just want to say thanks so much for your time, mate. I know you're a busy guy, and there's www.craigharper.net right there. What do you got coming up, mate? You got some programs, call to actions. What do we got? How can people engage with you? You got some, get around him, guys.
Yeah. Well, just jump on my website, have a look at stuff. I've always got things coming up, but my podcast as well, which is a 7-day-a-week thing. It's called the U Project. I've got a program starting tomorrow night, which will probably be a while ago by the time you hear this. So that starts on November 22, which is it's called Preseason 2024, which is very much an action-based. This is literally me doing 4 weeks of coaching, not educating, coaching. Whereas most of the stuff I do is education, inspiration, motivation when we're doing groups online. Whereas this is all around, this is a call to action. This is getting people off their ass and making them accountable. So we've got a bunch of people signed up for that. And I'm always wheeling things out, mate. But maybe you and I'll do a joint thing one day. Imagine if we got all our peeps together and we did a day at Deakin and you do a half and I do a half and we just fucking create mayhem. We should do that.
No, let's make it 2024. Why not? The Harps and Trav show. Who knows?
Let's do that. Yeah.
Love it.
The bucket guy and the fucket guy.
Yeah, there you go. Unfuck Yourself, the first fuck book. And what was the other one? Unfuckable. There we go. Yeah. So I've learned beyond that. Guys, get around Harps. He's a champion. He's been in the game for so long. I respect the guy, always have, and he's a force for good, as you heard. So thanks a lot for tuning in, mate. Thanks a lot for being a guest, mate. Greatly appreciate it. We'll probably do a round 2 or actually round 3 at some stage. But thanks so much, Bucket Listers, for being part of the Bucket List Life podcast once again. Thanks heaps.
Thanks, mate.
Bye for
You're
now.
a gun. Thank you.
Thanks so much for listening to the Bucket List Life podcast with the world's #1 bucket list expert, Trav Bell. For more great content, go to www.thebucketlistguy.com. We'll see you next time.